Hi, everybody. I know there's a lot of people out there that like doing coloring for adults, especially during this time when with the coronavirus and everybody stuck in the house and trying to find something to do. So I thought I'd show you if you get tired of coloring with pencils or crayons or markers or any other thing, you might want to try doing it a different way. You might try wanting to do it digitally. So I'm going to show you a way that you can take a illustration that's made for a coloring book and turn it from a black and white picture like this to something like this. And then when it's all done, you can print it out and you'll have a nice colored picture that looks really cool. So let's take a look at what we need and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so to begin with, the first thing you're going to need is a picture to color. Now, there's places where you can get them for free online. You can, and I'll show you one of those. Or there's also places that you can purchase digital files for download, and you can print those out and color them in by hand, or you can also color them in digitally. And I have an Etsy shop that I've got several designs that I've got available for download, and they're all 300 DPI files made for coloring in that you download and print out, or you can also do them digitally. Now, another place that you can buy or get things for free is on the Crayola.com webpage, and they've got a thing called free coloring pages here. And so with these, you can download these, or actually, you what you do is you print them out. So now, like this one here, I'm just going to show you. Now this file, it says print now, so you can print it out, and then you'll have a printed page that you can use, and you can scan that in, and then you can color it in digitally. Or the other way that you can do it, and the quality isn't quite as good, but if you right click on the picture and click Save Image As, and then it's going to give you a place to save it, and it saves it as a JPEG file. The image quality isn't quite as good, but it's still usable. So I've done that. I've done both. I've saved it, and I also printed it and scanned it in. The next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to need a program to color the picture in with digitally. And so there's a great free program called GIMP. If you go to gimp.org, you'll find the version. Now, I know it works on PC. I think it also works on a Mac, but I'm working on a Windows computer here. But you just click the download button, and then it's going to ask you two different ways you can download it. This one here, download it directly. It'll just save it to your downloads folder, and then from there it'll give you an executable that you can open up, and it'll install the program on your computer. So once the program is installed, you can open it up, and so it's going to look like this when it's open. And we're going to open one of the files that either you scanned in or that you downloaded digitally. So just to give you an example, this is one of my files that from my Etsy page. And if you look at it, I'll zoom in here. You can see that the artwork is really pretty clean. Like, you can zoom way in, you can see that it pretty nice clean lines there, and it's easy to work with. Now what I'll do is I'm going to take a look at the some of the other ones here. Now this is the one that I scanned in, and if you take a look at this, it looks pretty good when I zoom in. It needs a little bit of work to clean it up, but it's not too bad. Now also we're going to take a look at the one that I just right-clicked to download, and let's go in on that. And if you look at that one, you can see that the image quality is really pretty bad. It's pixelated, and that's going to need some work to try to work with that file. So well, what we're going to do is we're going to use the picture that I scanned in, and just to give you an idea of how to clean this up and give you a better file to work with. So let me just run over a couple things in this GIMP program here. There's really only a couple tools that we're going to need to use. One of them is the magnifying glass. So when I click on that, everything zooms in. And if you want it to zoom out, you hold down the Control key and then you click it and it zooms out. The other tool that we're going to use a lot is the paint bucket tool, which I'll show you how that works, but also the color tool to pick out what color we want. So if you click on that, this is the foreground color, and there's a few different ways of looking at colors. So this one on the far right is called a palette, and it just gives you an assortment of colors to work with. There's this wheel that you can turn things around, and you can make them lighter and darker and adjust things this way. And then there's this one that you can move this little thing around, and you can slide it up and down like this. But the one that I like the best is just the color palette one. So so it lets you pick a color, and then let's say, so that color there is the color it's going to be, and let's say you want to change it to maybe you can look at here and you can slide these sliders and change the color of that, or you can pick a different color. There's all different ways to do it. And then whatever color that is, when you click on the paint bucket, which is that one right there, bucket fill, if I click that and click it, what it's going to do is it'll fill that area that's surrounded by black with that color. Now let's just take a quick look at this though, and when you look at how well it filled it, you can see that from the original picture that was a little bit blurry, it left some little marks around it. It's not great. I mean, it's okay, but there's a way to improve that. So also another thing is if you hold down the space bar, you can move the image around so that you can kind of get it back centered. So I'm going to go edit and undo bucket fill, which I just did that. And also if you hit Control Z, that will also do it. So edit and undo bucket fill. So one of the best ways I found of cleaning up the image is to go colors, threshold, and then first of all, let me cancel that, and I'm going to zoom in on it a bit here just so we can see some details here. And okay, so we're going to go colors and threshold. Okay, so now you can see that it's got rid of a lot of the gray and things like that. But now if I take this little slider here and move it to the right, you'll see that it's gradually making those lines look nice and really nice, sharp, dark color. If you go too far, it's going to make really thick lines. So you don't want to go too far. But so let's say right about there. So now we've got this nice clean lines. And if I click OK, and now I'm just going to zoom back out. I'm going to hold down the Control key and zoom back out. And you can see that the lines look pretty darn nice and and clean, and the image is a nice black and white. So once we get it like that, okay, so then what we want to do is we want to start coloring it in. Now, you can pick any color you want. Let's say we want to have the sign some color that looks pretty cool. So how about maybe, I don't know. Let's see, he's making muffins, so maybe some sort of a muffin color. So maybe something like that, let's say. All right, so I picked that color. Now, I'm going to go back to the bucket fill, which is that one right there. And I'm going to click up here in this area that I want to fill, that area, the sign right there. Now, the area that you're going to click on is, if you can see the little crosshair, in this thing, there's like a little bucket, but then there's a little crosshair. And it doesn't fill where the bucket is, it's where the crosshair is. So if I've got that crosshair right there and I click it, all right, so then it filled in that area. Now you can see that in the E and in the A, those didn't get filled in because they were kind of surrounded by black. Now you can see that it filled it in much cleaner. It didn't leave that little white outline around things that it was doing before. So now I'm going to just position the crosshair inside of there and click that. And then I'm going to go over here and click that. And then, all right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And let's say this part here and this part over here, I want to look maybe just a little bit darker than the middle part. So if I click on that, and let's go over here to this one, I want it to go just a little bit darker. So if you see down here, that's the old color, that's the new color, just a little bit darker. So I'm going to click on this paint bucket tool, and I'm going to click that one, and I'm going to click that one. So okay, so there's that. And so now I'm going to work on maybe coloring in his face. Okay, so we're going to pick a color here, and we're going to go to the palette, and I'm going to find a color that may be sort of a flesh-looking color. Okay, we'll go with that color. All right, so so that's his face. Now so then we got a hand over here, so we'll click that, color in that color. And then we're going to go down to this other hand, and here's part of his wrist. So we'll click that. Now, also we've got a finger here, and a finger there. Now, if I click on this, and that finger, but if I click on his thumb here, you're going to see that, well, it filled in his thumb, but it also filled in the ladle, because this black line that should be there is not there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Control Z, and I need to draw a black line in there so that that doesn't fill in the whole thing like it just did. So this is the pencil tool right here. And on this one, what I want is, there's a thing down here, it says Dynamics, and I want to click Dynamics off, okay, which is what it is. And so I have this set at 8 pixels, and these other things. A lot of these have to do is if you're using a pen or a tablet to draw with. But since I'm using a mouse, I'm just going to do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here, and with my pencil, and I want it to be black. So if I go over here and I click on, let's say that one there, and click OK. So now if I draw right there, okay, so I just drew a little line there like that on the ladle. So now if I go zoom back out, and so then I want to fill his thumb in with the same color as his face. So this little thing here, which is the color picker tool, like a little eyedropper, I'm going to put the crosshair over on his face, and that will give me the same color that we were just using. So now if I go back to the bucket fill, I'm going to click on his thumb. And so now it just fills in his thumb, which is what I wanted. So then we can go ahead and we can fill in, we can go back to our little palette here. And we can start filling in some of the other things. So let's say we want to make his ladle this blue color. So now all I did was just go there and I'm just picking a color. I don't have to switch to any other tools. And I'm going to go click that. Okay, so there's the ladle. And then let's say his bowl is also got some blue in it. So we'll click on that part of the bowl. And then maybe we want to make some of the other parts of the bowl maybe a little bit lighter than that. So we're just going to move this and we'll go up there like that. And then I can just click on that one and click on that one. And then there's a couple little areas here in the bowl that need to be filled in. And let's say if I go with my color picker tool and I pick this darker color again, we'll close that and we're going to zoom in here on it again and go, well, all right, let's see, we'll pick the same light color here, okay, and then I'm going to fill in the rest of these little bowl areas there. So there's that one and that little tiny one right there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to maybe fill in some of this flour, whatever it is that he's mixing in the bowl here. So we need a color for that. And so let's say maybe some kind of a yellowish color, maybe something like that. So we'll click OK, and then we'll click that. And this down here is that color, and this is that color. And maybe we want this little thing on the inside of that to be a slightly darker. So I'm just going to go there like that, make it a little darker. And we're going to go fill that in. So anyhow, you just keep going through and you select things and fill them in and pick out whatever color you want. Now there's a lot more things you can do, but this is just kind of the basic beginning version of it. I'll show you in another video on how to use some of the other tools. But so once you're all done filling in, let's say it's going to look like this. So I've just been using all these colors, filling it in. So then the next thing you want to do is you want to save this out. Now, one thing that so you want to export it, right? Okay, so we're going to export it, and we're going to export it as you can export it up here is where the name of the file goes. So it can be PNG or a JPEG or something like that. So I'm just going to change this to JPEG. And we'll call it Muffin Man. So Muffin Man JPEG. And then we're going to go export. And then it's going to, it's going to ask you quality and save all this other stuff. And, you can save it all if you want to, but we'll go export. All right. And so then if I go over into look in my folder where I just put that file, it should be, I believe, maybe in here. Yeah, right here. Okay. So here it is, Muffin Man. All right. So there's the file, and then you could just print that out, and you'll have a really neat looking file. Now with this one here, this is the one that I right-clicked on and downloaded and saved it. This is kind of the low resolution version here. So if you look at it, everything is kind of fuzzy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to do the same kind of filtering that I did with the other one, and I'm going to go threshold. So you can see that there's some issues here, but I'm just going to kind of go to the right, and so that the lines all fill in there as good as they can. And then I'm going to zoom back out. So you can see that the image is quite a bit more jagged looking. And so when I go to fill it in with different things, so let's say I want to fill in with the flesh color. So we're going to go back to these, and let's pick this one here. So if I click it, so it does fill in okay, but you can see that those lines are pretty jagged. So I think I would recommend printing it out and scanning it in as the best way to do it, to give you a little bit more nicer image. Just for grins, I'm going to undo that threshold. And okay, so just going to take a look at it just the way that it came when I downloaded it. And I'm going to go ahead and use the bucket fill from that color and click there. So when I do it this way, you can see that it misses a lot of pixels here. There's there's a lot of areas that it doesn't quite fill in, and so whoops, yeah, that's one thing. When you're zooming out, it might zoom way out. So you want to, but if as long as you're not too picky about it, I mean, it still works this way, but I would recommend doing it the other way. So so that's a couple of different ways that you can fill in a color picture. Just to show you the one that is downloaded from the Etsy page. Now, if I zoom in on this, you can see the lines are much cleaner. And so if I want to go fill in a color with this, so let's just say I want to do some yellow color or something here. So I'll click on that, and maybe this one and this one. So if we look at that and zoom in real close on it, you can see that you have to zoom way in. I mean, there's some little areas where it didn't quite fill in, but from a standard, I mean, if you were to print this out, you would never notice it unless you were looking with a magnifying glass way up close. So that's the other thing to do, is that if you download a picture, a purchase picture, make sure that it's a 300 dots per inch, and so that you get a nice clean file to work with. So that's it for this tutorial, and I hope you enjoy coloring in. And as always, if you like this one, please subscribe to my YouTube page, and take a look at my Etsy page if you want to download some files. I'll put the link in the description. And happy coloring!